Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and I don't really know how to start my review over here because this is kind of in the way. This over here, this is Iron Forest, which we'll talk about in a minute because you still can't see me. But before I remove this over here, I do want to show you this over here. So you see this little thing? I just want to show you how this works. I can go ahead and pop. Ooh, that was a good shot. It went even through. So this is the second layer of Iron Forest, the game that we're going to talk about in a minute once I remove it. But there's a little launcher where you can knock things up there, and if you really time your shot properly, you can even get it directly up and through the same hole that you launched it. Let's try it again. Oh no, it just got stuck. It got stuck in a corner, but it was close. Okay, let's try to remove this chaos from the table and go through the rest of the actual review because we don't really need this present to cover this over here. This is not how things are supposed to go. Let's remove one of these, and then put this off to the side. This is Iron Forest. Cool. Okay, we'll deal with the mess later. This is Iron Forest, coming to you from the name of the company. I don't know the name of the company offhand. From the Ice Cool universe, from Brain Games. That's what it is. From Brain Games, from the designers and team behind Ice Cool. And this is taking Ice Cool, the general game of Ice Cool. If you're familiar with it, it's going to be a little bit of a flicking game. A game where you can flick things around, trying to launch your various penguins into various areas. And this is applying it to mechs, or mechas as it were, as you try to accomplish a variety of objectives in a game that takes Ice Cool, and rather than the little party, roundup, teacher catching people kind of situation that Ice Cool is, instead you have a team game, a head-to-head game, an experience in which you're going to take one of two sides, trying to accomplish your objectives in a variety of different scenarios. These over here are going to be different scenarios, giving you different things to go for. Whether you're going for more of the original Ice Cool as far as just trying to move through various gates and do what you need there, or whether it's a little bit more aggressive, attacking each other, launching to a level, trying to get in each other's ways in asymmetric, or sometimes, well, it's always mostly asymmetric. There's some overlap sometimes in the different objectives you're going to go for. It's going to maintain that same aspect of the flicking and moving of Ice Cool, where you have these little characters where you can try to flick them through various areas, or you can try to go through trick shots. That was a direct shot. I'm not very good at this game. I should warn you before we keep going. This is going to be a left shot where I hopefully get through that door. Nope, a little too much of a flick over there. Nope, still trying to get it a little bit. Oh, almost. You can see how you can kind of turn a shot with enough force by hitting it on the side. I'm not that good at the game over here. Let's try this again. Oh, now I'm turning too late. But you can kind of get a turn on your mechas as you flip them around. Additionally, there's the jump shot. The jump shot is where you can try to jump over a gate, as you can see over there. You can kind of flick them at the right angle. I should probably get rid of this over here. You can flip them at the right angle that takes them over a wall, which can be very helpful. If I'm trying to navigate through that gate, I can kind of go, nope, there's a little bit too much over there. Nope, a little bit too much, and nope. You see the problem over here. Nope, a little bit, almost. There we go. I got through over there, which now has me more well situated to pop through a gate. So it takes some practice to get the hang of these shots. It's also a little better not doing it on camera where there's more pressure because I don't want to cut and edit for the perfect shot. And then lastly, it introduces this guy over here, which is the new thing from Iron Forest, where you can kind of knock something onto the second level of the map, trying to knock into other things, trying to pass through gates, trying to pass through those holes back down to the first level as you try to play the game. The general turn structure is going to have you having a deck of cards for each team over here, and having your specific mecha cards over here on the side, where you can tell whether they are wounded or not as they get hit, because mechas don't actually die in this game, but they can kind of reset, being taken from where they have spent the past 2 or 3 turns trying to get to being reset to a spawn point if they take 2 points of damage. And you'll take points of damage when either another mecha hits you. So if I launch a mecha into you, I don't take damage, you do. Additionally, if I end up out of the playing area, that's another point of damage. So in fact, you can actually get 2 points of damage at once. If I both hit you and knock you out of the playing area in the same shot, you will take 2 points of damage and instantly die. Death is not permanent in this game, but it can get in the way of you accomplishing your objectives. The turn activation structure involves drawing a card, drawing one of these cards in this deck, and activating that specific mecha. So you're going to go over here, you're going to look for that mecha, you'll find them, you'll activate that mecha, you'll add any extra effects, so which are either from the scenarios, or alternatively from this deck of action cards. You're going to start with 3 of these, and whenever you take out an opposing mecha, you're going to get more of them, and then you're going to repeat that, doing another action, so you're effectively taking 2 actions at a time, and then it's going to be the other player's turn to take their 2 actions, back and forth, until one person accomplishes their scenario objectives and wins the game. Those scenario objectives are going to vary. Like I said, there's a nice little handy stack of these, all with a little bit of flavor text behind them as far as what's going on in them. But they're going to range from, like I said, gathering some gates, to trying to launch multiple people to the next level, to trying to do anything to taking out to direct head-to-head combat as far as taking out other opponents' mechas in the game. It's basically a flicking, jumping, and launching game of attacking mechas until you accomplish your scenario objectives, and that's effectively Iron Forest. A bit of a mess to start us off because I kind of want to have that on the screen, but I also want to be able to talk to you at the same time, so we have that. But we did get some fun shots over there, and I'm going to try that jump shot again, which is going to be really great if I get it, not so great if I miss it. I missed it, you see? You want to maintain contact, and they have a little rule book on how to do this. You want to maintain direct contact and launch it down. Beautiful. You want to get a slight downwards flick to the back of their head from the top of the neck. Beautiful. You see, you can go ahead and do that. And then you can get those direct shots will go straight, and then you'll have shots that curve to the left or right. I'm going to try that curved left shot again. And I got stuck under the gate over there. Let's try that one more time. Nope. I got to be able to do it, right? No, a little bit of a curve, but too little too late. In any case, that's Iron Forest, which brings us to the review part of things, starting off with the fact that this is, everything you see here is a prototype. This is a game that is on Kickstarter. You can check out the link in the description down below. And everything you see here very much is a prototype, which is also particularly hard for this style of game where everything matters so much. The perfect flicks are important. Mastering those flicks are important. Having the double layer of the two different, levels of the game are important. So rules, components, all of that. Prototypes, subject to change, all of that. As far as ease of play, this game is very easy to dive into. It's basically like what I said. You're going to go ahead and take two actions, flicking your mechas around the board, taking your activations, trying to accomplish your objectives. There's a minimal rule set around how things actually operate in this game. There's a few power cards that you can activate. I mentioned them briefly, but they'll involve different things such as getting extra activations, knocking other players out of zones, just small little extra perks and boons that will help you in accomplishing your objectives or in stopping your opponent from accomplishing theirs. So yeah, rules, ease of play is fairly easy. Table space and setup is a bit of a nightmare, although like I said, prototype. Getting this level over here, getting this setup over here, two-tiered on the table, while not that difficult with two players, is incredibly frustrating with one, although again, prototype, so I don't want to ding it. I do want to note it, but I don't want to ding it from that. But the way these have to be set up, and you have to be holding your things and putting them in place, and then trying to balance the objectives, with two people it's great. When I was trying to set up for this video, I realized how frustrating it is to set up for a single person. So factor that in, but again, prototype, and even with a prototype, with two players, it's totally fine. Game time was fairly reasonable. Depends on who you play it with. Playing it with my daughter had this running fairly long, as far as just taking a long time to get those shots in. Playing with adults on the other hand had the game running fairly smoothly. I would say between 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the player count, depending on who you're playing with, all of those factors over there. Speaking of player count, this is a 2 to 4 player game. I have only played this one at 2, and I think that's the only player count I would want to play it with. One of my biggest critiques, which I'll get to shortly, is that aspect of taking your shot and having a dead shot, having a bad shot in the game. And that is even further frustrated when there's a longer gap between turns. Me going ahead and taking 3 shots over here to get that perfect jump, that is, ooh, right through the gate. That is appealing. That is perfect. I like that aspect of trying to, just get the shots in. But having to wait between your turns is going to be further exasperated with more players. And so a 4-player game would be a team game, 2 players tackling, 2 players working together to accomplish their objectives. But it does mean you're taking less flicks. 2 players is going to be my preferred player count. But again, I've only played this at 2 players, so factor that in. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, it has the same flicking fun as Ice Cool. That compelling aspect where even as I sit here on camera trying to tell you how this game plays and trying to give my opinion, I can't help but try to continuously get that perfect curve. They're so close. I can't help but try to get more shots in, whether it's a jump shot, whether it's a launch shot, trying to get a launch shot directly through a fall point and a gate, trying to get your penguin, or in this case your mecha, to flick and curve and turn just right. It has that same compelling flicking fun that Ice Cool does, where you just want to keep taking shots, and mastering those trick shots is part of the fun. The fact that I have gotten that jump, not perfectly down, I am by no means an expert at this game, but I really have gotten the jump a little, you see, almost, I've really gotten the jump shot pretty decently down, while I'm still working on my curve shots. can't stop. I'm gonna stop touching things. But mastering those shots is ridiculously fun, and getting that perfect trick shot, getting that shot where you jump over something and land through the gate that you need, taking off your little pick, getting your objective, those are incredibly satisfying moments. Landing that shot where you both hit another person while curving through another gate, potentially getting a full loop around curving through 2 gates, while rare, because I'm not very good at the game, those shots are very, very addicting is the word I'm going to use over here. They're very compelling, they're very addicting, and it gives you a lot of reason to continue playing the game. The power-up cards are nice as well. They're not overpowered, but they are a fun little extra incentive as far as what you're trying to do in terms of accomplishing your objective. I might want to go through that gate because it's the easier shot, but if I can go ahead and get that curved shot, I'll end up over here where I can also bump my opponent out as they're trying to get through their gate. So you have those extra aspects of trying to be mindful of the power cards and the way they'll affect your strategy as you try to figure out exactly what is the best opportunity for you. The easier shot, or the shot that will have potentially better consequences if you can actually land it. And then the scenario variety is essential, because honestly, going through the gates on its own is fun, and it's a good training scenario, but it could get boring quickly as you feel like you're not fully taking advantage of the fact that you're getting in each other's way. You see, when you play the game, you kind of want to hit other mechas. This game feels like it should be a combat game, and not executing on that combat almost feels like a wasted opportunity. And that first scenario, the recommended training scenario, as you go through gates, you could hit other players, but if you try to spend your turn hitting another player at the cost of you accomplishing an objective, it's not worth that time investment. But other scenarios have more conflict, either direct or in even just trying to get in the way of another person of the specific goal or location that they're trying to get to. And in those cases, taking out your opponents is huge, especially because you can't always control the order of activation in the game, because they're going to be coming out randomly. You'll reset the cards once it actually goes to the full deck. There's 3 cards for each character in each deck. Yeah, lots of scenario variety and strategy around those options. As far as what I don't like, the first thing I'll note is the setup. This game, and Ice Cool always had this kind of mentality or aspect to it, where you have these nested boxes, you have to take them out, you have to set them up, but this game kind of doubles down on that and then adds that second level. Even accounting for the prototype aspect, even accounting for the fact that 2 players makes it easier to go into, it's still a game that has a decent amount of setup in comparison to the lightness of the experience. And so I don't love the amount of setup. It's one that makes it a little harder to want to rush to pull this one out, to get it tabled, to get it set up, to put the second level over to the top. And that's made worse by the fact that the second thing I don't like is the second level of the game only feels okay to me. Now, for some scenarios, it is important. For some scenarios, you're going to utilize the second scenario more, but in the scenarios that don't utilize the second scenario, it doesn't feel as important or as important as it can make itself out to be. One of the big changes of this game is going to be the fact that it's ice cool, but on 2 levels. And only sometimes did I feel the second level was cool. It's fun to use this launcher, don't get me wrong. Getting that little launch in over there, still mastering where it lands, how it goes, those are all helpful. But you get a lot of that same general flicking fun from keeping it on one level, and one level has it more accessible. So while I like what the second level adds, I don't know if it's necessarily worth the extra box size, the extra storage, the extra setup, and all of those, again with the caveat that in some scenarios it is. As far as what I can see others not liking, first of all is dead flicks. Spending your turn getting just a dead flick, getting a little fizzle where you just kind of hit a wall, you don't move anywhere, you don't even get out the gate, nothing happens at all, and that's not even talking about the fact that you can get like a real dead flick where just nothing happens at all, can be absolutely frustrating, especially when it's your turn. You're trying to take your turn and now you have to wait for the other person to go ahead and get their flicks in, and I do like the fact that the game gives you 2 turns in a row because of that, which helps mitigate for a bad flick, but that can be frustrating. And then additionally the random activation order, where you have these cards activating in a random order where you pull them out, and you don't necessarily get to choose which mecha accomplishes the objective. You may have set up this mecha to go ahead and go through this gate to get the perfect curve shot, and then you won't be able to activate that mecha for 3 turns, and in that time, somebody else can knock him out of the way so that you're no longer set up for that shot. So the random activation order takes a little bit of the control out of it, which can potentially add to the experience, but also could potentially take it away from the experience. As far as myself, by the way, the reason dead flicks aren't a problem for me is, personally speaking, we tend to make sure that people don't have dead flicks. Meaning, if somebody gets a really bad flick, we kind of tell them to just go again because we want to have fun in this game. That doesn't mean if they miss something. If they miss something, they miss something. But if you kind of just rub around off a wall, something bad happened, we tend to allow those to happen again. And then lastly, and this hopefully is a prototype issue, but the language and rules in some of the scenarios feels a bit fiddly. It's not necessarily as clear or direct as I would ideally like for some of the scenarios. I would say many of them I had to read a few times to actually understand exactly what's happening or why. They can be very text heavy with some extra things, markers you're utilizing, and then there's different symbology for the markers. It's not the worst. It's not. I'm nitpicking a bit, but it's definitely something that I can nitpick over. As far as final thoughts on Iron Forest, it's a bit bit of a tricky one for me because this is, like I said already, this is really the re-implementation or the next version of Ice Cool. It's taking the original game of Ice Cool and then taking it to the next level, both literally and figuratively. And Ice Cool for me was always a game that I enjoyed, but never a game that I absolutely loved, because it's a game that involves flicking and running around, and those shots are addictive, but the game was most of the fun for me was in that flicking aspect of the game. And I think to a certain extent Iron Force might have trouble finding its target audience because of that. Because it's taking a light, casual flicking game and then adding extra levels of strategy, extra levels of actual levels, and more to the experience. So I think for people who like Ice Cool, for people who are huge fans of the experience, I think this is giving you more Ice Cool, more ways to dive into it, and while maintaining the same fun, potentially even adding more fun to the experience. But as far as casual people go, it might be a little bit much while not being enough for heavy gamers. So I think that the target audience for Iron Force is a little narrower than Ice Cool was. As far as myself, I prefer this one to Ice Cool, because to me, Ice Cool was the flicking game, but I kind of just wanted to take the shots, and that's it, versus when I play this, I feel a little bit more compelled to actually deliver on the scenarios, to try to take the various scenarios and try to dive into the actual strategy, the actual back and forth, trying to accomplish my objectives before you. So for me personally, this is more suited to what I'm looking for from the flicking game that Ice Cool was, while still being concerned that it might not be as broadly appealing as Ice Cool, well, was. For me, this one's a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoy the flicking, I really enjoy the mechanisms. There's a little fiddliness in terms of the setup or the accessibility of the experience, and just the second level, I want the second level to matter more. I don't have any easy ideas of how to make that matter more, but past being utilized as an essential component in certain scenarios, it didn't feel as compelling as I would like. The aspect of going to the side of the board and then taking your next shot to go to the top, while fun, most of the time, I would still just rather do that. I still like the jump shot. I still have fun with the jump shot. As far as other game recommendations, first of all, Ice Cool. If you're looking for a game that's like this, Ice Cool is going to give you the same general experience in a more casual, more accessible format. And then secondly, flick 'em up. If you actually want your strategy games, your flicking dexterity games to have a bit more game and strategy and objectives and scenarios behind them, then flick 'em up will give you that kind of experience. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and as always, have a good one.